This 49 Buick was hours away from being sold for parts when we swooped in and bought it. We've done a lot of work to this car, as seen in the two other videos on this channel. Now, it is time to see if we can do the last few repairs and drive this car on the street for the first time in decades. Come on along, it's going to be awesome. This 49 Buick needs plug wires badly. They're bleeding all over the place. Now, being a Buick, you can't exactly find them anywhere. I could go on the internet and spend $65 for a new set, or I could spend $20 and get these. This is a set of make your own, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, make my own wires. Well, I thought it outsmarted the system, and guess what? I must have hit the wrong part number because I only got 6. Okay, well, I've got 2 others that I can make. I don't know how that happened, but it is what it is. But this is what you get. You get the wires, you get a super long coil wire, and they have no ends on them. And these are the ends. So you cut them to length, and you put the ends on, and you've got a custom-made wire. On this Buick, the wire connects to the plug, and then it runs down through here, comes out here, and goes to the cap. So when I create these wires, I need to take all that into account. You can tell these wires are wrong because they're not right-angle wires, and they need to be. Otherwise, they won't fit under this cap. So I'm going to start with the worst wire first, which happens to be this one, and it also is the shortest wire. And you can see that even this one is way too long because here's the chalk mark, it only needs to go to there and then come around. So what I'm going to do is come to here, find the shortest wire, and hook it to the plug. So I've guesstimated about that much needs to come off the wire. Then you just take a razor knife and cut through the jacket, being careful not to hit the wire underneath. This is interesting. These wires are actually physical wire, not carbon. I wonder how these are going to perform for radio interference being like that. Well, the car has no radio, but we'll find out from nearby radios for sure. And there's the connector we need. So you bend this back like that. Then you put this connector, the connector over it and clamp the connector down once you get the boot on first, of course. And then that part plugs into the distributor cap, and I'll show you that. And you can see I've crimped the end on, and the peeled back wire, I think you can see in there. So you don't want to have it peeled back this side, you want it the opposite side from where the opening is. Now this needs to be a very tight crimp, and they do make spark plug wire crimping pliers, which I recommend. I don't have any here, so I've been using conventional wire crimping pliers, but they're not as good. These have to be on there really tight because you're pulling and pushing on them to get the wires in and out of the cap, and you don't want this coming off. And it will if it's not attached right. And here I've got the boot, and now I'm just going to slide the boot over this using some silicone spray, which makes these boots slide really easy over the rubber wire. Try not to use oil. It's really not the best for these. Silicone spray is the way to go. And the completed wire is in place, and it will come through like that when the spark plug cover is on. So it'll come through like that. So I've got plenty of slack to play with if I need it. On to the next. Almost there. Got 7 of 8 done. This is the remaining one, and I'm looking for parts in my stash to try to find out, try to make this last one, because this one is bad. All done. Now it's time to route them under the plate, but I'm going to paint the plate first and this valve cover. So this is a close-up of the spark plug wire cover, and it's solid but very rusty. So I'm going to clean this up before I paint it, and it'll match the valve cover. So I think it'll bring some much needed color to the engine compartment. I'm going to clean it up with this, and I think that'll work pretty well to strip it down. We've got the finished products here. It looks good. I like it. Those are the nuts. Hold the cover on. I like this color a lot. It's as close as you're going to find to the original without spending $50 a can. I need to let this dry thoroughly, and these are going on. Let me jump in here for a sec. Some cool news that I have. Christina is opening her own YouTube channel. It is called Rust Creek Hill, and it will premiere the first full-length video at the end of the month. The channel is already there. You can go to it and check out the 2 trailers that she has there. And if you could, we'd both really appreciate it if you could subscribe. She's super excited about it, and I'm excited about it for her. That's the finished product right there. I'm happy with it. Looks good. Now I'm preparing to put the original style battery in. I've already removed the long battery cable that I had put in before, replaced it with the short one that was there, and now I'm fixing this ignition wiring. This is just horrible. It's the original cloth wiring, and it's just open all over the place, potential grounds, old electrical tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off here where it's good, and I'm going to rewire it. It goes directly to the positive side of the coil. So this thing has power to it anytime the ignition key is on. You can't have that shorting out. It'll kill the engine, but more importantly, it could cause a fire. It's a little tricky to see, but the new wire now is in place. And it just runs right over and splices into the harness. And this is all, the old wire is all good from there on. So this will work out really well and remove a potential real trouble spot, both for shorts and fires. Next up is addressing the fuel system, which essentially means I have to figure out a fuel pump and a fuel source because the fuel pump leaks and the gas tank is missing. I'm going to mount this pump here in the trunk with a fuel cell and have the pump draw from the fuel cell, mount it securely, have it draw from the fuel cell and push it down the stock line. I'm going to bypass the fuel pump because it leaks and go right up to the filter on the carb. So it'll be double filtered, and I'll put the pump very close to the gas source so it'll always be wet and it won't run dry on me, which will ruin it quick. So I've got to find a nice mounting place for the fuel cell next. The pump is working real good. I'm running it off this battery charger so I don't create any sparks when I turn it on and off. But that water pump, boy, it's bad. I'm gonna have to do something about that right away. No leaks at all in the fuel system. I've got the pump running right now and everything's holding pressure. Engine's not running. So I need to make all of this permanent. It's all temporary right now, but it looks like it's gonna work. The water pump is on order, but as usual with these Buick parts, it's going to take a while. So while I wait, I'm going to address the ignition switch and the starter button. They're just hanging under the dash, and I want to get them attached correctly so that it's safe and easy to use. For some reason, the 49 has all its ignition components hanging. That starter switch was added and never mounted. This heater switch is literally hanging there, and of course the ignition switch is hanging there. So I've got to figure out how these things mount. It looks like the ignition switch has 2 screws that hold it in. And the starter button, I'm probably going to have to drill a hole for somewhere in order to mount it, because I'm not leaving it hanging there. That's just not cool. So inside that hole there, I don't know if you can see it. See that stud? There's one of those on either side, and the nut is still on the back side. So why this switch is hanging, I don't know, because it looks like it's going to be simple to get back in. So I'm just going to feed it through the hole and see if I can get it to line up with those studs and tighten the nuts. That was straightforward. It's mounted. Now the heater switch, that pretty much can go anywhere, but this ignition switch is a bit of a problem. There's nowhere really for it to go, and to put it in a bracket that hangs here, if you're ever in an accident or something, that bracket's going to go right into your leg. So I have to think about where I want to put this. I've decided to replace this hanging switch with a new one. Now this new one's probably of cheaper quality, but this one, the hole here required is huge. And I don't have a bracket that'll support that well, and the nuts are missing. This one's complete. So I'm gonna go with this one. I need to put ends on these wires. There's no ends on them. They're just twisted around. So I'll put those on, get this up. The bracket is in place. I like where it is. It's tucked up next to the steering wheel, out of the way of someone's leg, and it's got nice round corners. So if someone's leg were to hit it in an accident, it won't be too terrible. It's in, tucked way back up in here. I like it there. Easy to find, yet out of the way. The ignition switch is in. The heater switch I decided not to put back in because there's only one wire connected to it, and that wire does not go to the heater. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, so I just took it out. And that's how it ended up. This bezel that goes around the key, I can't find it anywhere. So I'm going to need to probably order one of those because I can't find it in the car. Next step are the rear lights. We know these work, but they don't have 6-volt bulbs on them yet. And these are very, very faded out. I've got some tips from the viewers on how to get that fade out of it, which I will try. But luckily, when the lights are on, these do turn red, luckily. But boy, just looking, they look terrible just sitting here. So I've got to take these covers off, screw here, and screw here, and get the 6-volt bulbs in here, clean up the contacts, and make sure these work. The bulb that was in the driver's side, it doesn't have a marking on it anymore, but I'm willing to bet this is an 1157, which is 12 volt. And it needs 1154, which is 6 volt. So let's try that out. Before the bulb gets swapped, I'm going to clean this all up and clean this. This looks like it's a diffuser of the light. This is silver for a reason. You want it to be as reflective as possible in here. And given 6-volt lights aren't the brightest, I want as much reflection as I can get. So I'm having some challenges with these tail lights. As soon as I hook the battery up, the tail lights come on, both sides. And I think when I hit the brakes, they're going off, but I'm going to try that right now. I'm going to hit the brakes with the camera running to see if the lights are actually going out, which I think I can see they are, but I'm not sure. So the battery's hooked up, the light switch is not on. I hit the brake. And I think what I see is the lights going out. Now I'm going to turn the headlight switch on. Do the same thing with the brake. And then check what was recorded. So a little bit of good news there. The brake light switch appears to be working because that side brake light is working. So this side is not. It's probably just a wiring issue here in the trunk. I still don't know why the lights are coming on, but it gives me a starting point. I'll start by fixing the brake lights and take it from there. The wiring, oh, look at that. That could be a problem right there. The wiring is always a mess on an old car like this with the original wiring, cloth covered wires. I'm willing to bet that might be the whole problem, unless that's the gas tank sending unit wire. But I'm going to check it. I'm going to check it right from here and see where both wires go. But first I'm going to disconnect the battery. Okay, this wire looks like it's the one that goes to the gas tank because it goes into the floor. So that means that this wire that's disconnected and this wire that's disconnected are part of the taillight circuit. But it's pretty hard to tell which is which. I mean, that's what I've got to work with. So I'm gonna have to take this whole thing out and use an ohm meter. Well, maybe I can do it from the bulb socket and use an ohm meter to see if I've got any continuity here between the broken wire and this bulb. So I'm under the rear of the car, back by the rear bumper, and we've got quite a mess. First off, this ground is just hanging. This wire, is this the ground? Maybe. Yep, that wire is nearly broken. This blue wire's been spliced in. It goes to the license plate light. This wire's hanging all over the place. You know, this stuff is usually pretty messed up. Ow. And pretty complex. So I'm just gonna have to spend some time. It looks like somebody tried to tow the car right here and bent that up. Look at how nice that steel is. Incredible how solid this car is. What else are we going on here? Look at this. Where the trunk light's been spliced in. No connector. Just twirl the wires together. All right, further investigation. This broken ground likely goes to the gas tank, which is missing. So I can take that out of the equation of the taillights. I need to fix this light, obviously, but there's more to look at here that's faulty, because I can't make any sense of the broken wires here. I can't find any connectivity to anything, and it could be because it's brake lights. And it's only going to work when the brake pedal is pressed. So I got to get something to hold the brake pedal down, and then maybe I'll get some continuity. I've been working on this wiring for a while. This gives you an example of what I'm up against. Bare wire here, bare wire here, there. You know, you turn on any of these lights and you have a chance of those bare wires shorting out. This car really needs a harness. And I feel like I'm kind of wasting my time finding every bare wire, addressing it, and then moving on, because the whole harness has issues here. It's in the front now of the radiator. Look at that, bare wire. And that's just all too common for these cloth-covered wires in these old cars. So I think what I'm gonna do is stop working on the lights, because it's even with all I do, it needs a harness. I wouldn't feel safe either driving for, you know, long distances or selling the car without communicating the need for a harness. So I'm just going to stop working on it for now and accept the lights working as they are. Moving on to the headlight bezel, the taillight bezels, you can see that the underside's still red, but the parts that were exposed to the sun, they're just horrible. Interesting, this actually bolts to the assembly here. It's not just laying in there. Back when quality was so important, they would do things like that. Clearly, these lenses are just too far gone for hand sanding. So here's what I'm gonna try. I've got a DA with some 400. I'm going to hit it with 400, see if I can get most of the white out, then follow it up with 800, 1200, 2000, 3000, and see what I get. That's how I do plastic headlights on newer cars, but they're usually not quite this bad, but we'll see. Don't have to do it very long, really. Just, you know, a few seconds per side with the DA should do it. All right, let's do a comparison to the other one and see if we're getting anywhere. This one is clearly more red. Hopefully that comes through on the camera. but that is clearly more red. I wonder if 400 is not aggressive enough. The worst that can happen is I scratch it beyond repair, but it's already there, so let's see what happens. The goal I'm looking for is get rid of a lot of the white and just get down to a scratched red. And then once I get down to a scratch red, I can start to come back. So let's see. Right now, this is where we're at. I actually went down to 100, 150, 220, 400, 800, 1500, and 3000. And it's smooth. Let's see how it rates with what was there. You can see there's now a significant difference. So the next step, I'm going to hit it with cutting compound. I'm going to start with some heavy cut, and then I'm going to go to some light cut, some fine cut. Let's see what that makes for a difference. Using the compound is super easy. It's just like you use it on a car finish. Right now, I've already done the heavy cut. This is the fine cut. Once we get to the higher grits of sandpaper in this compound, we're not removing any more white. We're just polishing what's there to make it as smooth as possible. And once I'm done this, I'll get back to you. I hope this comes through on camera. That compound made a huge difference. Let's match it up to the other one. That's a big deal. So I'm going to put it in and turn the lights on. Let's see how they look side by side. Here's what we've got. Left is done, right is not. It's a pretty remarkable difference. If you look in there, you can actually see the diffuser. Whereas on the other side, you can't see anything. So this is pretty neat. Let's see how the directionals look. Perfectly noticeable. Nice and bright. Let's try the other side. Noticeable, but not so great. I'm just so liking this. It looks so good. It looks better in real life than it does on camera. So next step, I'm going to do this side. Both sides are done, and that's where we ended up. This side came out even better. I don't know if that's readily apparent or not, but it came out even better than the other side. Of course, the other side was in a little worse shape. The big difference being the cracking in the middle here is a little worse, but they are way better and usable now. So I'm super happy with that. Also glad to be moving on. This was a fair amount of work. Good morning. Late night last night, doing some very special video for some special people with a special car. And you'll see that soon if you haven't already. But in my hands I have a brand new water pump. It looks right. It looks like the right one. And it attaches with only 3 bolts. Now, it doesn't look like it came with a gasket. Isn't that nice? So I'll probably make one. But this looks pretty simple to install. It's got an outlet there for a cooling hose, an outlet there for a cooling hose. So I'll have to pull the fittings from this and put them in here. Hopefully they're in good shape. This doesn't look too tough to put on. I'm going to start with pulling the hoses off. This cooling system is full of water. It's going to make a mess. So I've got this little mini pool underneath that should catch it all. But there's a lot of hoses to remove. Top one, this one, that one, the low hose, and one below that. And I'll have to pull the fan as well. There's very little clearance there in front of the radiator. Hopefully I don't have to pull the radiator. I don't think I will, but you just never know till you get into it. All the hoses are off. The bolts are loose. It's a little dark, I know. the belt has to come off. And in order to do that, I have to flip the hood around the other side. I'm growing not to like these side opening hoods. To have to flip back and forth during a job like this, just, it's wasted time. And I really have to wonder why Buick did that and kept this design so long. Maybe one of you viewers knows. Almost there. Water pump is completely disconnected, but it's frozen to the block, which is not unusual. So I'm gonna hit it with a dead blow hammer now that I've got some clearance in front of the radiator and see if I can shock it free. Boy, it does not want to move off of here. Okay, I see part of the problem. There's a hose connected to the water neck here that you really can't get off without pulling the whole water neck off, and the water neck has a hidden bolt on it that I didn't see. So let me get that out. It's not even that tight. And I think with that out, this whole thing will pop off. There it is. Looks like I got one hose left connected. Boy, this thing has a lot of hoses on it. Whew. So that's it. So when we spin this, it should make noise. Oh yeah, ooh, I can feel it. It doesn't even want to spin. Wow. Yeah, this bearing, it had it. It sounds to me like it was about to seize. So this hose comes off, then I got a lot of work to do with getting these pipes and such off and onto the new water pump. Heat will be required for sure. So this is what I'm looking at. This pipe has to come out. It looks to me like it's just a long steel pipe with thread on it, so I might be able to source something like that even at Lowe's. And this thing probably can be sourced somewhere else too if it breaks coming off. It's still in decent shape. But I'm gonna heat it with MAP gas, see if it comes off. If it doesn't, we'll take it from there. This I'm gonna have to use a pipe wrench on. There's nothing to grab on the pipe itself. So I want to heat the base rather than the fitting. And this is a huge heat sink, this water pump. So may or may not get the base hot enough. I got safety glasses on just in case something pops. I definitely don't want it in my eye. Trying to go around and heat all sides. Let's try that. The key is to move fast while it's still super hot. Got it. Got it. All right, I've got a good pipe wrench here, nice and small. That should fit on this nicely. I'm gonna heat it up. I've already got some penetrating oil on it. That's what the extra flame is. That's not a problem. It'll burn off. I got it. I got it. Awesome. Woohoo! Back to this bearing. I think you can hear the noise it's making. It's not supposed to do that. So this guy had it. Got the pipes cleaned up and moved over with some Teflon tape. And there was a gasket in the box just underneath the styrofoam packing. So I've got that on with gasket shellac. The last thing I need to do is create a gasket for that, water outlet gasket. That does not come with the water pump, but you pretty much got to take this water outlet off in order to get the water pump off. But that's no problem. That'll be easy to do. An interesting facet of this water pump is 3 of the bolts thread into the water jacket. So essentially, the holes are not blind that they thread into. So what happens is 2 things are possible. The bolt rusts. This one's just starting to get a little corroded. Trying to get a good fix on it here. or water leaks past the threads. So I'm going to clean up these bolts in the wire wheel, and I'm going to use this stuff on the threads, just a little bit, and it will keep the water from ever passing through the threads and leaking out the bolt hole. And we are in. Appears to be holding water. The real test is it going to hold pressure? And I'm going to find that out by firing this up. No more water pump noise. You may have noticed with the engine running a minute ago that there was a pop, occasional pop or a miss in the engine. And when I heard that, the first thing I thought was, I've got a couple of plug wires messed up. And sure enough, I do. So now, after fixing that, this thing is running smooth as silk. I'm still working on this latch and how to get it out. This nut clearly comes off, but I believe there's a roll pin up in there that needs to come out, and then I'll be able to get the latch off and close this trunk. That is proving to be quite a challenge, and I'm still working on it. So my fuel system is complete. Now, admittedly, it's somewhat temporary, but it will allow me to drive the car perfectly fine. I have a racing fuel cell here, which is securely mounted to the floor, and it runs through these AN fittings down to this fuel pump, through an additional fuel filter. There is also one in the engine compartment, and out through the factory line all the way to the carburetor. I bypass the fuel pump in the engine compartment because it's leaking. Getting down to the little stuff like this. This is the throttle return spring, and it almost has no tension. I have to swap that out, but luckily I have a box of springs. So one of these will surely work in this situation. One of the last things to do is this upper hose. When I changed the water pump, it started leaking, and I was able actually to find a hose that would fit. It's 1.5 on each end, which feels a little bit small, but it did go on. And this is about 13.5, 14 inches long if you're looking to know what hose will fit this. The time has come to see if this Buick can drive under its own power. I'm going to drive it around a bit in the yard, and if that goes successfully, I'm going to take it on the street. It's got coolant in it, no leaks, the fuel cell has gas in it, should be ready to go. Let's find out. I am going to need to check the trans. I know it's going to be low because it leaks a bit. I just don't know how low. But that has to be done before we get driving, but after it starts. Okay, I'm gonna check the trans. All right, that should be good. So far so good, but I need to adjust one of the skirts. It's rubbing the rear tire. This skirt is just a little too far in, so it's rubbing the tire with this edge. That should do it. Yeah, that should do it. I'm going to check the other side to be sure. Okay, the other side has no problem. The maiden voyage around the yard went great. I'm going to check it, see how cool it's running. The temp gauge appears to work and it says it's fine, but I've got one of those trigger checkers to check the temp. And then if that's all good, we're going to take it on the street. All right, about to hit the street for the first time in decades. Who knows how long it's been. And as usual, I'm nervous. Even though I've done tons of work, I'm nervous. Steep hill going down to the road, good test of the brakes. Here we go. Yeah, baby. Woohoo! Woo! Wow. It is on the open road. You notice the transmission doesn't shift. That's the Dynaflow. It doesn't shift. Tires feel good because they're new. Awesome. This is quite a thrill. Quite a thrill. I'll get back to you. Wow. No directionals in this car from the factory. So I've just got to basically stop. I can't even use hand signals because this window doesn't go down. But the old girl made it. How cool. These Dynaflows are a bit sluggish on hills and drive. And this is a steep hill. But the transmission appears to be good. Woohoo! We made it. Pull this right into the garage. Just pulled in. It's really purring like a kitten. Unbelievable. What a great feeling. After finding this car is such a derelict. The gauges are working. Probably can't see that, but the temp gauge, the alternator, the generator, oil pressure, those are all working. Fuel, obviously not, so I've got a fuel cell in it for a tank. But this thing is just doing great. Still messing with the trunk latch, so I had to tie it down. But wow. What a cool rig. Love this car. It's going to be so hard to part with. Shuts right off, starts right up. Great rig. And the door closes like a bank vault. So I am super excited. This car was amazing on the road. I had zero problems. The brakes worked good, the transmission, the engine, everything was great. What a cool ride in a cool car. This one's gonna be super hard to part with. This video is part 3 in a series, so if you haven't seen the other 2, they're worth a look. I've got a playlist on the channel that contains all 3, and you can watch that and see just how bad this car was when we started. It was not a pretty sight, and it was a fair amount of work to get to this state. Thank you so much for watching. Check out our merch at WTRmerch.com. You may see something there you like, and we're updating it with new styles regularly. If you like this video, give it a like. I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to this channel. That helps us out a lot, and it doesn't cost you anything. Until we meet again, have a great day.